Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine, the Resilient Mother with the Resilient Mother podcast. We have a new episode for you today. I'm excited as we're going to speak on mastering your unique resilience. And I have another guest for you. I have Andrea Allen. She is the founder of Healthier You and Me, LLC. Andrea, thank you for being here. Please tell us more about you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for having me. I'm just really honored to be here with you. I love connecting with other moms, and my kids are older, so I'm kind of on the other side of some of that. They're 16 to 23, but my story begins when I'm getting into this industry when my youngest was born, and she just turned 17. And so right after her birth, I had like a couple stomach viruses. I got a sinus infection, E. coli from eating spinach, trying to, drop baby weight. And shortly after that, at the age of 32, I woke up and had just debilitating arthritis. And when I say that, like, I didn't sleep longer than an hour at a time, and just kept waking up because it hurt to sit, stand, lay. It didn't matter. And so, you start the process of going to see doctors, 6 months, because I want scientific evidence based on, and to convince me that this is what it is. I'm an advocate for sure. I believe everybody should be an advocate for themselves. And so I finally went to a naturopath, and she diagnosed me with Epstein-Barr virus. And it's autoimmune disease. Had no idea how prevalent autoimmune disease is in our society until, of course, all of a sudden I come down with it. And then joined like Facebook groups and all different kinds of things. And it was kind of depressing. Like, everybody's on their sad sacking, and, there's not a lot of hope in there. And I mean, I was already in the drama triangle. One of the reasons why I was in here, we can talk about that in a little bit, but I thought, I've got to leave. I've got to get out of here. This is not a good environment. And, still looking for solutions, trying to research while raising 4 small people at home. And thankful for them, because they're the ones that got me out of bed every single day. If not, I could have easily just, fallen to my victimhood. And I did some days, but, I allowed myself there too long. But I was thankful for them for allowing me, making me get up and have purpose and, all that stuff. And so I'm thankful for that. And so fast forward about 6 years, that lasted about 6 years. So you got to imagine, not a lot of sleep, depression. I'm also like a fixer, so I have to save everybody else. This is also why I was in this situation. And a lot of moms are like that. We want to help everybody else, and then it's usually to our detriment and to the detriment of our families, because I don't know. It's an ego thing. I feel like, looking back, it's an ego thing. Like, I want to be seen outside of this, and I want to like help everybody. And so fast forward, we're hiking on a mountain in Maine, and my husband's like, yeah, we can do this. And it was hard. And I just remember it was like an aha moment for me. And I thought, this can't be my story. This cannot be the rest of my life. This is not the mom that God has called me to be. And this is not the person that I was called to be. There's so much more. I have to get on the other side of this. And I didn't know what that was going to take. And I had tried some different things for sure, but nothing really ever, I didn't follow through, because I don't know. I think I just wanted to wallow, really. If I'm being really honest, I just wanted to wallow in it. And so I watched some friends of mine who had dieted and for 15 years and never gotten anywhere. And I saw my friend Rick, and he was like lowering medications and wasn't grumpy and mean. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I don't know what's wrong with you. And I realized the two things that one thing I could control was what I put in my body, right? I can't fix the disease. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't know how to do that. But what I knew was that for every 1 pound you lose, that's 4 pounds of pressure off your joints. And I had about 30 pounds to lose, which puts you in the obese category. And I thought that was really mean. That's so mean. Just 30 pounds. That's a cruel statistic. And so
having babies and whatnot, because
I
you
know, right?
gain like 30 pounds having one kid.
Exactly. And I mean, I believe moms are amazing. Our bodies were created to do amazing things. So,
Right.
there is no judgment at all. Like you're amazing. You're awesome. And so, just trusting her, my friend who I'd watched, it literally took about 8 days following their nutritional plan, and all that inflammation was resolved. And I slept through the night for the first time in 6 years. And I remember just waking up crying and thinking, oh my gosh, I just wasted 6 years of my life when I could have done something about it. And
yes.
and so many times when we're in that environment, we create an environment, we attract that environment. And so I knew a lot of sick people. I had no idea what it was. It's like ignorance on fire, but I just wanted to help so many people. And so I built a pretty significant business just helping people around me that were struggling. And so I'm super thankful. That was just the nutrition side. Later come the mindset work and all those different things that I love playing. I love playing in the psychology mind and all the different things and helping people have empowering moments and revelations about themselves. And so I'm thankful. I did lose weight. That's great. I don't care about that part, but I now play pickleball. I play tennis. I hike. I did a 28.3-mile hike for Make-A-Wish Foundation a couple years ago. I'll probably do it again. And so that's the long story. Sorry, that was really long.
I love your long story. It's unique, it's special, and there's someone in this audience that needs to hear it. There's someone that has given up, who thinks that they're just the way they are, and is probably this close to that last answer. That one next try, that one next thing might be the thing that brings them to where you've been able to go. And those of us who've been through lots of struggles, our heart is, we don't want you to suffer as long as we did.
Right.
We really want to bridge that gap for you. We want to bring you into our positivity, into what we discovered was a choice that we made and we decided to step into. Hence, a very resilient story, and a unique one at that, which is perfect for what we're talking about today. I'd love to hear, after all of those things that you've shared, a couple of things. You talked about the power of love as a mother. You talked about that come to Jesus moment, for lack of a better term. Those seem like two big steps in your process of becoming resilient. So what does resilience mean to you?
I think it means just continuing going even when you don't think you can. It seems impossible. It seems like there's not going to be any change or a shift. But for some reason, I'm kind of hard-headed. So, I think that's one thing I have going for me, right? Is I'm a little hard-headed and I just don't quit. And once I get in the space, I'm good. But, I'm thankful. And I recognize that my children were my saving grace at the time, even though it probably didn't feel like it, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm thinking they're all going to have to go to therapy. I mean, don't we all think that they're all going to have to go to therapy because I've gone through
Our biggest thing is we think we're failing them. We're like, I'm screwing this up.
No.
We're all screwing it up. We all don't know what we're doing. They didn't come with an instruction. Right. Oh, and by the way, they change. You just figure it out and they change. So yeah, we're all in that boat. So.
And they don't remember half the stuff that I feel guilty about. That's the amazing part. And I'm like, how do you not remember that? But I'm thankful. I really am thankful.
Yeah, because now they're doing well. I'd like to hear what they're up to and how your story has affected them.
Yes. So I love it because my oldest son and we're the same, right? So we butt heads a lot. And I tried to parent like my mom tried to parent me, and I love my mom. It didn't work, right? And I was trying to do the same thing. And through coaching and learning all these things about my response, because I only had one response, which was dominate, right? Like, because I think that's what we all think we have to do to stay in control. And it's a fear of lack of control, or fear of not being able to teach what we need to. I think it was senior year. We were just starting to make headway, and then, he left. But I remember at Christmas time, he came home and he laid down right here in this office, and he goes, I'm so sorry, Mom. So I guess we chipped away enough, and he went away and had a different experience and came back and thought, okay, it's not that bad. And so he's married now. He's 25. My oldest daughter, who is 22, lives in Maine and is studying civil engineering. I have a son who just graduated last year from high school. He is training to be a mechanic. And my youngest daughter, the last year of school, she's a senior this year, also wants to study civil engineering, which is hilarious because my husband and I are not great at math. They must have got that from my dad. That did not come from us. So
Me too. Math is not my strongest
right.
suit. I can do it. I can budget. I can do the things, but
Yes.
I don't really flip numbers. Like I'll flip 6 to 9, or I'll say the speed limit backwards out loud, and somebody will have to correct me. Mom, it's not 56, it's 65 speed limit. I don't know. I don't know what this is. So it's funny but I have a kid who's really good at math too. And I'm like, okay, you did not get that from me.
I know, but
maybe it wasn't from me. I'm the writer. I'm the creative.
Yes.
Like that's me. And so it's fun how our kids are all a trait of us, and that they take some of the for sure.
And isn't that kind of scary sometimes? I mean, like you're like, you hope they don't get all your bad things. And it's like, why did you get all of our bad, like from when both parents, and of course that's what you're looking at. You find what you're looking for. So,
Yeah, that's so true. And that's with anyone, with our kids, with anyone. If something rubs you with somebody, it's probably because you're working on that yourself. Mm-hmm. If you do a lot of self-reflection when you get into that state of things. But you're on the other side. I'm not there yet. Like I just entered teenager. So I'm hoping you can give me some hope with this next question. Like someone said the teenage years are the messy middle. And I feel like I've got to have some serious resilience during this messy middle time. And so can you just tell me how you kind of managed it? And if you could go back and give yourself some advice during that time, what would that advice be? And kind of also get anyone else in this boat with me, give us some hope that there is the other side of the messy middle.
For sure. And I think for sure, especially with my oldest, because I hadn't learned, and I know there's still way more things to learn, right? But I'm just saying I had progressed far enough in changing my mindset and how I respond to situations that I was just starting to see the light. And it really is about how you respond in situations. And the thing is, they're all different. So you have to kind of learn how to respond differently. I know that's not encouraging, but the thing is,
it is, because if I thought that one was going to work on the other one and it didn't, then I would be like, that was actually the best thing somebody told me is they're all different. They're going to do everything differently. They're going to walk at a different time. They're going to speak at a different time.
Yes.
They're going to butt heads with you at a different time. Yes. And that was it's actually helpful, because then you just know it's not going to be the same formula.
Oh, for sure. For sure. My oldest daughter, just super practical. Like literally when we're potty training, I told her, okay, this is what we're going to do and why. And the next day she potty trained herself. Now it took forever for everybody else, but she was just like, she's very logical. Right. So like, it was pretty easy. I know, just as an example, like her brother had played sports, and soccer, and he was working for my brother-in-law, never saving money. We never got around to like installing money habits with him because we were just so busy. And that was one of my big fears when he was leaving, like, oh my gosh, what is he going to do? That's a vulnerable moment, right? Like there, I was freaking out about that. But I remember looking at my daughter, who was starting to pay for some of these things that we should have required my oldest son to pay for. And I said, I realize this seems very unfair, but remember, she's the logical one, right? But what I'm helping you do is to build into like leveling up and being able to pay for things and to be on your own. And she totally got it because she's the logical one. So, it was just implementing those things from that point on and helping everybody kind of grow. So you learn something different. You get better with each kid.
Right. The last one kind of gets spoiled for that reason. Yeah.
Yes.
You pick your battles differently with each kid too, I think. Sure. And the age, like my little guy was a surprise caboose. I didn't know I could have more. And so like the energy is different. And I can see where when I was younger, I had a little more energy for the like sleepless nights and everything. This energy is different. So I pick different battles based on what
Yes.
my energy is and what I can give. I
Yes.
also give my kids a new gauge of like where my battery's at. Mama's kind of going here. This is where I'm at right now, just so you know. So please listen, because this is where Mama's at today.
Well, that's
It's not-
awesome that you have that awareness. You know what I mean? It makes a huge difference. It makes a
Yeah.
huge difference.
And I feel like it's important to be honest with them at a developmental level as much as possible, to apologize when you're wrong and some of those things as well. I'm definitely not getting it right all the time, but I'm trying and I care. And I think that's really important, because if you're worrying about how you're doing as a parent, you think you're failing, you're a good parent. You care. You're doing something and you're thinking about it at least. And that makes you a resilient parent, whether you realize it or not, because you want to figure it out. If you haven't figured
and if you're modeling that behavior, they're going to get, it's a skill set. You're showing them a skill set. And I believe now everything is learnable. If you can just identify what skill set you need, you can learn it.
Absolutely. And that will serve this next generation, because we're seeing the job market completely change with AI and we've moved to remote online, and some of them are killing it. Like some of these younger people are just like, oh, we get this.
Yes.
You guys are left behind. We totally got it. And then we have others that are like, I don't understand this. Like, where do I fit in this landscape? This was the path I was told, and now that's no longer the path that's available. And I'm kind of finding that with my own degree. I'm glad I have a little bit more time to kind of gauge that. I'm like, wait, I thought degree was going to do this, and now it's a different landscape. And so but you can adapt, you can change. I think learning from history is huge with our kids and their ancestors, to see what their ancestors have been through and been able to do. We've got the Great Depression, we have world wars, we have relatives who have gone through hard, difficult things. And when we know that's part of our blood and part of who we are, that helps us also to be more resilient. And people in history, some classic heroes and things like that. I don't know that we teach that as much anymore, because we have influencers. And I kind of miss having the people that were kind of seen as heroes instead of just, they have a huge following. Nothing against influencers. I get it, but it's a thing. But like the responsibility and the way we used to gauge that seemed a little more rare than it is today. Not everyone got in front of an audience easily, and not everyone, and it was just a different level of honor, value, old-fashioned standards, and now it's like all game. It's like, and so how do we help our kids be resilient in a landscape that's constantly changing? What standards are constantly changing? What is valuable? What should you like? What should you not like? How do we give them a compass through all of that so they can be resilient?
Right. And so I think it is bringing from a place of history, although history wasn't always that kind, you know what I mean? And, we've seen that where people just want to chuck parts of history, whether it's good or bad, it is a point of learning. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that was bad. We don't need to repeat that. Let's not repeat that. If we forget it, we might repeat it. And so again, like just bringing up stories from history in certain points when they are ready and open to learn, I think that's one of the biggest things I realized, that I can't always, I don't want to say instruct, because my kids are older now, right? I can't bring a point of congruence or knowledge if they're not open to receive it. So don't try to force, that when it happens, especially if you're like, this happened and it was not good, and I'm trying to get my point across. It might not be the best time to try to get your point across. You might need to both take a break and come back to it and just say, I would like to hear your side, and then I'm going to share something with you. Are you ready to receive it? And that was so huge to me, just being able to manage that. And of course, it's harder to do with smaller children, but not really. You know what I mean? Because they're many human beings is what it is. They're tiny human beings. And so just being able to do.
Especially my son right now, he's just picking up everything, repeating what we say. I'm like catching on to words. I'm like, wait, where did you pick that word up? Like, it's not bad words, good words. Good words. It's just like, oh, this is a more complete sentence that you're saying now instead of a 3-word sentence. We've got a whole sentence here. Like, it's fun to see that
so fast. It just happens so fast.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love what you're saying, because they have to be ready to receive, and we don't get to control that. So something I think about being a resilient parent is that you have to realize they have agency, and you have to give them options. But something I'm learning right now is that's really important to let them know where your heart is and where your intention comes from, what you're giving them. Because we think they know that already. Oh, I love you. I'm saying this because I love you, or whatnot. And really we need to even see what was my intention with this conversation right now, and why did that conflict maybe come up? Did we just have different ideas? Is it your personality versus my personality? And I'm really trying to hone into that as having a teen, because I just know so much of it is now more listening and letting them figure out who they are and giving them the space to figure that out and accept that they're going to separate from me, but also letting them know I want to continue this relationship. How do you see that working for us? As I want to be a parent my kids actually want to spend time with when they're adults. Like I want to do things with them. So I know that means I've got to start doing my part now to change that relationship from parent-child to adult. Not that they're adults yet, but there's that transition. And a friend of mine, I like women that are older than me that I asked to mentor me, that are like in their 60s, have raised their kids, have done the work, have been there, because I feel like there's so much wisdom that they have for these things. And it was a friend of mine that pointed out, you're in this transition. How are you going to manage it? And it was like, oh, instead of like, oh, the teen years are here, I was not prepared. Oh my gosh, what do I? She's like, no, calm down. What do you want? You want a relationship with your child. How are you going to continue that? What does that look like for both of you? Start honoring the individuality that they're stepping into, and be along with them in the journey on that. And, let go of the control, because there is really more control at that point. So. Can you speak to any of that transition and how to handle it?
Sure. I think just something I was not good at, and just also being very transparent, is about having boundaries. That doesn't mean you're trying to control. It just means you're saying you've got space here, right? Just don't step outside of here or here. And that's somewhat teaching values, right? Like you're trying to say this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, but you got all this room in between. And so just having clear boundaries and having them to understand that, so that you guys can both operate. And it does give you kind of freedom. I am also like a liberal arts major. So, who likes structure, right? That's not my thing. But, as a business owner and as a parent, you're like, you want your kids to be on a routine, like when they're little. So, when you're on and when you're off, and you're just always on. Who knows about that? But everybody's
single parent, always on 24/7.
Right. Yeah, my husband drove a truck over the road. So it was me and 4 kids. And I'd have so many people say, and I was blessed because I was financially provided for, so I didn't have that stress. But it was just me dragging 4 kids around, and we went everywhere. And people were like, well, how are you doing it? I'm like, you do it because there's not an option.
Yeah, they act like there's another choice. What is the other choice?
Argue about it. There's no stress about it. And then he came off the road, and it was like, oh, another person. We have to account for another person. We have to get used to it again, because we're so used to just doing, our thing.
Yeah.
But structure is really great because it gives you opportunity to complete things, but then freedom to have downtime and to be able to do it. That's what I've learned in my parenting and in my business. How it provides you with a lot of freedom, actually.
Yeah, because you have the guides instead of wandering around. You have a system, you have strategies in place.
Yes.
And that's what I love when I coach, is to be able to give someone maybe a strategy or a system they haven't thought of before, or they haven't tried. Doing enough trial and error in my own life and the things that I've been through, I definitely have lots of options for you to try, because I had to try them myself. I won't just be like, hey, let's try this. I'm like, I have tried this. Maybe this will work for you. This didn't work for me. This did work for me. But I could see this maybe being beneficial to you. Yes. And I feel like the more you understand how the brain works, and you understand other people's needs, and you know how to draw from your life and spirit experience, the more powerful your impact can be with an individual. And every individual is unique. And so I'd love to talk about that. Like, how have you honored the people you work with and your children for the unique individuals that they are, so that they understand how special they are and that there's no one else like them in the world?
That's awesome. I think really just trying to find what their thing is, whether it was sports or whether it was music or whether it was neither one, and giving them space to kind of flourish in that environment. I was laughing because both of my boys were they were handfuls. Okay. They were a lot, and they were loud, you know what I mean? And they got,
I've got a COVID baby, so I can imagine.
Yes. good and bad. But remember the logical one, right? Like number 2, logical, who, other than drawing on the wall, she got her crayons taken away from her because she kept drawing on the walls. I don't know what that was about. We gave them back to her for her graduation from high school. It's hilarious. But anyway, I thought, okay, they are taking so much energy. I have to be careful with this one. She's not requiring energy or focus or time, but I was very intentional about like having positive interaction with her because she, and I don't know, she might have not even needed it. She's very introverted, but I wanted to develop that relationship. I'm very close to her, even though she doesn't live here, we video chat every day still. And I love it. I love it. And, but it's just trying to find their thing. My youngest is in volleyball and she's a high achiever and she loves competition and, so just giving her opportunities to figure out who she is in those spaces. Now, as far as coaching my clients, I go from people who just, you tell them what to do, again, logical, and they're like, I got it. And then I've got other people who have, a lot of mental baggage. You were talking about holidays, and it was I crack up because holidays are challenging. It's a high time. It's high work for me. Most people are like, oh, they don't want to talk to me. It's the holiday. Nope, that's when they need to talk to you the most. Because guess what? They're getting around all their triggers,
Right.
their family, and all the things on how, so like if we can just chip away on a couple things, like, they're going to have to do the work, right? I can't fix anything. But if I can help them become aware of why they feel that way in that situation and say, well, maybe you can practice, how can we flip the switch and see this differently? What obviously you're coming into the drama triangle in that time and the person's feeding it. You're the victim. They're the villain, your sibling's the hero. Cause there's always gotta be one somewhere. And so how can you step away from being the victim in these situations? And what does that look like for you? And just giving people practical tools to be able to manage that. So, it just depends on at what level they need my help. Sometimes it's just a hurrah celebration. And what are you learning in our education component? Because we use an education component to work on learning more about yourself. But then other people, it's a little bit of a deeper conversation. I am not a therapist. Some people I refer to therapy, and that's okay. That's not my job. But I love being able to kind of at least have them pause and see how they can change the dynamics of the situation just for themselves, not for the other person, but just for themselves.
And it definitely takes slowing down and having a level of awareness. I think so much of like counseling is really diving deep into the past, and there's pain points and trauma there that can bring up other things. You definitely need a specialist for those kind of things. It's important to do that work. But I think as a coach, what you're trying to do is, where are you at right now in this moment, in the present moment, and where do you want to be in the future? And if something from the past pops up, let's resolve that as much as we can, but let's move forward and face forward. And that's what I love about the aspect of coaching and this kind of work and teaching people to be resilient, because it shows them they can bounce back faster. That every time they can be more, they can change, they can grow. You're not stuck as you are. As you mentioned your story, for 6 years, like for my entire 20s, I struggled with stuff that if I had had the right mentor or the right help, I would have gotten through a lot faster and I wouldn't have lost time. And that was your realization. And I really resonate with that, is like, I lost all that time. And then or the coming to moment that, like, I'm not going to live this way anymore. Like, we don't all have to hit rock bottom before we realize we can shift and we can change. And hopefully you can prevent yourself from hitting rock bottom. It teaches you a lot of empathy, I will say, having hit rock bottom a couple times. But also, if you can avoid it by learning from other people's lessons and still have the same amount of empathy, it's your unique experience. It's your life experience. You get to decide what you make of it. You don't have to be held back by your past. Your mess can be your message. And that's kind of what we do, is share our unique messes. And now we make them a message of, but look what I could do. Look what I could create. What can I make happen now? And just let people live their truth, I think, is the way I really like to put it. Is resilience to me is learning to live your truth under all circumstances. So living your truth resiliently and just having the right boundaries, because once you step into your truth and alignment, you get to honor it. You get to protect it. and you get to
Yes.
let it be yours, and then you get to decide what that looks like. But when someone is in alignment, they've got that spark in their eye, they are brighter, they glow. Like, we all want to be in that state. And the
Yes.
more of us that are, it gives other people permission to do the same, and the world
Exactly.
will be a better place for it. And so
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about mastering your own unique resilience. We just want you to go out there and shine your light into the world and give our children, the rising generation, the ability to shine resiliently into the world and be who they were meant to be. Who knows what contribution they're going to make in the world. They
Exactly.
do something really great, but they're only going to do that if they have the right support and tools and strategies and
Mhm.
systems in place to help them succeed. So if someone wanted to find you to work with you, Andrea, where would they find you?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I sent you the links. It's Andrea Allen, but there's lots of Andrea Allens. Andrea Allen.562. I know it's a really old account. And then Instagram, Healthier You and Me 13, because that's our family number. That's a whole nother story. But and I also have a link if you would like to book a free 15-minute consultation. I would love to hear. I love connecting and hearing people's stories. There's no pressure. It's just really to see if it's a fit to work together. And if we're not, that's okay too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today. I hope that you were able to take something in that will serve you and help you be more resilient. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine, the Resilient Mother with the Resilient Mother podcast. We have a new episode for you today. I'm excited as we're going to speak on mastering your unique resilience. And I have another guest for you. I have Andrea Allen. She is the founder of Healthier You and Me, LLC. Andrea, thank you for being here. Please tell us more about you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for having me. I'm just really honored to be here with you. I love connecting with other moms, and my kids are older, so I'm kind of on the other side of some of that. They're 16 to 23, but my story begins when I'm getting into this industry when my youngest was born, and she just turned 17. And so right after her birth, I had like a couple stomach viruses. I got a sinus infection, E. coli from eating spinach, trying to, drop baby weight. And shortly after that, at the age of 32, I woke up and had just debilitating arthritis. And when I say that, like, I didn't sleep longer than an hour at a time, and just kept waking up because it hurt to sit, stand, lay. It didn't matter. And so, you start the process of going to see doctors, 6 months, because I want scientific evidence based on, and to convince me that this is what it is. I'm an advocate for sure. I believe everybody should be an advocate for themselves. And so I finally went to a naturopath, and she diagnosed me with Epstein-Barr virus. And it's an autoimmune disease. Had no idea how prevalent autoimmune disease is in our society until, of course, all of a sudden I come down with it. And then joined like Facebook groups and all different kinds of things. And it was kind of depressing. Like, everybody's on their sad sacking, and